Hello and welcome here to Talk FCB, and welcome back here once again to more Champions League build-up as we are once again looking ahead to that Chelsea against Barça game coming up on Tuesday evening. Tomorrow I'll have all the different previews coming up for you guys. I'm hoping to do a tactical preview just like I did for the Classico back in December, and also of course the usual match preview for this colossal tie. But in this video we are going to be looking through some very interesting questions, looking ahead at the performance, the tactics, the different decisions that the two coaches have to make, and asking those 5 questions to you guys. So make sure you're letting me know your thoughts in the comments down below as we kick off here with question number 1. And I'm sure you were all expecting this one to crop up. Will Lionel Messi finally strike against Chelsea here in the Champions League? Because it's a question that a lot of people are wondering, and of course we all want it to happen now, and we all want it to happen against Chelsea. He has faced Chelsea 8 different times during his career so far at Barcelona, and as of yet he has failed to find the net against Chelsea in any of those games, which for Lionel Messi is very unusual. Usually for Messi, facing any team in the world, it only takes one meeting to feel the full force of this genius. But however, Chelsea is some sort of anomaly. It hasn't quite worked out for whatever reason in those 8 meetings. He's been extremely close, he's been extremely unlucky, but for whatever reason it just hasn't quite happened. The goalless run against Chelsea includes an agonising penalty miss. You all know the one I'm referencing, back in 2012. That year, Messi missed the penalty. We were eliminated in Pep Guardiola's final season at the club. And then, of course, Chelsea went on themselves to lift the trophy in Berlin against Bayern Munich. So very much contrasting feelings. Messi, I think, has suffered many low moments against Chelsea. Really difficult moments that not only he felt, but I think us as fans have felt some really low moments. That penalty in particular, I think, hurt everybody. Messi was obviously pictured in the training room after that game, and it was really difficult to see him like that. I think personally he's going to be so determined not only to score against Chelsea, but to get the win here and get past them in the Champions League. We've seen Messi in recent games. He hasn't scored in his last 5 games in all competitions, and I think he's been saving himself. I don't think it's all intentional. I think at times Messi over the last few weeks maybe has suffered a dip. I think of the weekend against Eibar, it was a bad team performance all around, but once again, Messi providing a stunning assist for the first goal. He was still very active in our key moments in the game, and I think in this game, Messi, it is all going to come to a crescendo. All things in the end must come to an end, and when it comes to Messi, you can only evade him for so long. I remember, when it was, Messi can't score against English opposition, and now you look at him, you look at the stats behind that, he's sitting on 17 goals in 16 games against Premier League sides. Goals in the Champions League final against Man United in 2 different occasions. He scored 4 in one game against Arsenal. He scored against them as well. We faced them at this stage in the competition, and of course he's got several goals in that time against Man City. So clearly he can score against Premier League sides. He can definitely score against Chelsea. There's no doubt about that. It's just got to happen on the night, and I've got the feeling it could be this one. And that brings us on to question number 2, which for me is, I mentioned it earlier on, Eden Hazard against Sergio Roberto. For me, that is one of the biggest matchups in this entire game. Those two players come in head to head. Who is going to come out on top? How is Sergio Roberto going to counter Eden Hazard? And is Hazard really going to expose Sergio Roberto in the right back position? That is the massive question for me. And the one thing for me is, how is Sergio Roberto going to cope against one of the best wingers in world football? When you look at Eden Hazard, he has all the attributes that defenders fear. He's got a lot of pace, he's got incredible close control, he's able to move in any direction at any given time, he's got the ability to score goals, to create goals from wide positions, he can come central as well. So in that final third, Eden Hazard is an absolute nightmare for any defender. It doesn't matter if it's Sergio Roberto or one of the best right backs the world's ever seen, it's still going to be a problem. I think that's why many Barca fans going into this game with Semedo suspended, we are a bit fearful, simply because we saw what happened against Julian Draxler in the first leg against PSG, when it was of course the 4-0 defeat. And I'm not saying it was all Sergio Roberto's fault, but a lot of the problems came from down that right hand side. We really struggled with Roberto at right back. He didn't have any help from his midfield, and I think in this game he's going to need to have an absolute monster game to deal with Eden Hazard. But having said that, I think from that game against PSG where he really did suffer, but obviously on the spin of that, in the return leg of course, he was the hero in the remontada, and I think he's got incredible confidence from that moment, and rightly so. He was the hero on that day. He rescued us, and I think from then he's grown in the position, he's understanding the role a lot more at right back. I think he has played very well there in many games, and I do think he comes into this game with a lot more experience at right back, but he's still going to need one of the games of his life to keep one of the best wingers in the world out of action in this game, and he is really going to to need to step it up. But if anybody can do it, I would say Sergio Roberto could be your man. He will give absolutely everything on the pitch. You know that. He's a committed player. He will give everything while he's out there to make it happen. And I do trust in him. It's going to be a really difficult matchup. And if Hazard is on his game, he's going to be very, very difficult to stop. But Sergio Roberto has my trust. I go into this game hoping that everything goes well. And I want to know your thoughts on that, guys. How are you feeling about that matchup? Can Sergio Roberto do it? And do you expect Eden Hazard to show his best level? Done it a lot of times. He's shown his quality on many occasions in the league and in domestic competitions as well. But is he going to do it on Tuesday? That is the big question. And the third question for me revolves around Chelsea's tactics, and I've got the simple question here of will Chelsea decide to press in this match? And I ask that simply because you look at our performance on the weekend against Eibar, we were under severe pressure from that Eibar team simply because they chose to press us, and not only press us, but press us in a lot of numbers as well. Right from the very start of the game, their approach was very clear. They were pressing from the front, very high up the pitch, a lot of players going forward, closing us down right at the top of the pitch, closing down our defenders, stopping us playing out of the back. And you have to say, it worked very, very well on Eibar's part. And certainly, Antonio Conte would have been watching that game. He would have seen the effect that it had on our players. And you've got to remember as well, that was pretty much the lineup that will play against Chelsea on Tuesday night. So Conte certainly will have seen that. And I just want to know now, guys, do you think that he's going to change his approach? Do you think now maybe Chelsea will come out at us a bit more? They'll try and press us. They'll come out of their shape and try and force us into mistakes? Or will Conte instead still stick to his tried and tested method of sitting deep, being organised, inviting the pressure almost, but ensuring that his team is really compact, really organised, in their shape, exactly as he wants them? And even though Eibar caused us a significant amount of problems pressing in that way, they did leave gaps at the back. And that's why I still feel, even though some people might think they might come into this game and change their approach because of that game, I still think Conte and Chelsea are going to stick to their methods. They're going to sit deep. They're going to be very, very compact. They're going to be very, very deep in the pitch. It's going to make it really difficult for us. It is going to make it hard, but I just don't see them sprinting around. I don't see Hazard and Morata closing down our defenders and working very, very hard. I don't really see them doing that side of their game. I see them sitting deep in their shape, being compact, doing exactly what Antonio Conte likes, and most importantly, not leaving those spaces in behind, which we saw Eibar leave in the game at the weekend. So it's certainly a big question, but I still think Conte will stick to his methods and not be forced into pressing in this game. The fourth question, guys, revolves around personnel, and I'm going to go over a lot more of this sort of thing in the previews tomorrow, looking at the lineups, looking at the potential problems and selection issues that Valverde has. But the one question that I want to ask you guys here, and I want to know your thoughts on this: should and will Paulinho start in this Chelsea game? And the reason that I ask this question is simply because I think Paulinho is really in line to start this game. I think that's been the plan under Valverde for quite a while now. In the last few weeks, we've been easing Paulinho in and out of the team. I think it's always been the aim to start him in this Chelsea game. And after the start of the season that he had, you could understand some areas of why Paulinho should play in this game. He's a physical presence. He gives us a completely different dimension on the right or in the centre of the pitch. And of course, he does pop up with some goals. He arrives at the right time. He finds himself in good positions. And you can see why maybe that would give us an advantage against Chelsea. However, after his recent performances, and I think it is fair to question whether he should still start this game, simply because he was subbed off early on the weekend against Eibar. It was a very poor display from Paulinho at the weekend. Admittedly, the entire team was underperforming. They were all under par in that game, but Paulinho was the man subbed off, and I think he was particularly poor while he was in possession. And we're going to have a lot of possession against Chelsea, and we need to use it in the right way. And also, his performances before that against Alaves, against Espanyol as well, they were not quite at the standard that we saw earlier on in the season from Paulinho, and that will lead you to the question, should he start this game? That's what I want to know from you guys. Should he start, and why? And also, do you think that he will start? Even though obviously you might not want him to, or you might want him to, what do you think Valverde is going to do? Because still in my mind, I still see Paulinho starting this game. I still think Valverde is going to go for him. And my final question to you guys would simply be regarding our expectations for this game as a whole, because I want to know whether you guys would accept a draw with an away goal on Tuesday night, because obviously we want to win every game. As Barcelona fans, we've been brought up to expect perfection, probably wrongly. At times we should expect other things other than big wins and fantastic performances, but our mentality has always, to go into every game, expect to win, expect to play well, and that's what happens. That's what we're brought up to do, and that's what we come to expect from Barcelona. But I want to know, would you be happy if we came away from Tuesday's first leg game and say a 1-1 draw or a 2-2 draw, drawing the game, getting an away goal, but not quite winning it on the night, which given the away goals rule would mean that if we drew the game with an away goal, we would go into that second leg at home with an advantage, but it would only be a very, very slight one. So let me know all your thoughts and all your answers to these questions in the comments down below, guys. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on this game, and like I say, there will be more videos coming up, a lot more build-up coming your way tomorrow, hopefully a tactical preview and the match preview for Chelsea against Barcelona. It's getting close now, and we are excited for it. I will see you soon, but until then, as always, Visca el Barça!